Hey YouTube, I am back, have returned, and I'm here already looking at Blender in the background. And someone was telling me earlier there's been a video uploaded, which I am interested in watching. The video in question is to do with, oh, right on. I got another window open up over on this other side. The video in question is Joe La driving the Challenger route. And I think I subscribed to her last night. See whether or not I get any notification. Joe La. Let's see. Filter by user channel. Already subscribed. It's funny how this doesn't work. Picture looks. Video. False flag part 2. Hang on. Video. 6 hour ago. 5 minutes 7. I'm eating. Cuts the sound. Yeah. Hmm. Mm-mm. Okay. Going back. Part 2. So low income. My God, parking lots. Cool. Cool. Other than the bike, I mean. Right. Right. Wow. Okay. 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 All right. Is that it? It's okay. It's okay. Thank you, Joe. So I had a quick look at Blender. For full disclosure, I'm here eating still. I'm just about done though. I had another look at Blender to make sure I had this material bit straight. I get to assign to vertex groups. I was looking right at it here. Building 1, already assigned, right? Watch. Assign. Control L on that one's going to get them all, right? I don't want that. So I should go to face select. Just get that face. This one I'm going to put to building 3 and assign. I had some that didn't get saved because I didn't have them assigned before. So now if I switch, that didn't work. I want face select here to be the deal. Oh, I think I got to make a bunch of little materials there again. I had a bunch made up, but because they weren't assigned to anything, they got deleted. Might have to double check that on my own. I've got an open window over here. God. Add a new material. Normally, different colors or patterns of object are achieved by adding textures. However, in those applications, some applications you can tape multiple colors in an object by assigning different materials to different faces. Create, select the second material. I missed one little thing there. So obvious. So obvious. See it up on top here? In the faces, select the color with the second material. Object material slots, click plus to create a new slot while this is still active. Click on the second material. So right. This one, for example, is right. If I hit plus right now, if I hit plus here, I can go and make that one 3. So if I select what's number 1 or deselect it, over here, if I select it, I'm going to assign that one. Deselect, select. So now that's got a slightly different color. And if I change this, then it'll be very obvious that there's a difference between the first and the second one. So this roof is considered building 1. I need to make up a bunch more to fill out the roofs, and then I start assigning these roof materials to all of the different faces which I've defined so far. Divined. Nothing divine about it. Speaking of divine, though, I do have something for the background tonight. This is episode 23. In case you haven't heard or haven't understood yet, I am a Discordian on a part-time basis. Consequently, I have things like this to listen to.
This is the Cult of Nick.
Episode 74 or
Alrighty
75.
then, welcome along to the Cult of Nick, the greatest podcast in the entire world, with the most dedicated, hardcore audience you've ever encountered in your entire life.
I don't know about that.
That's who we are. I've decided that. It's true, it's a fact, that's how reality works, right? You say something's true, you believe in it, it becomes true, right? That's exactly how it works. For example, I could easily, if I wanted to, headbutt this microphone, and if I imagine with my mind that there's no microphone there, then it'll be fine, I'll be okay. So let's give that a chance, shall we? I'm going to headbutt the microphone to prove the theory that if you believe something, right, if you really passionately believe something, it's definitely true. Watch this! Oh, God!
Huh. Hey.
It doesn't work like that. I thought...
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Thanks for the head up there, Hilljack. You expecting a big turnout, do you think? And are the usual suspects already involved or not? Is this like something which is annual or special? Oh, wow. Already? I keep hearing referred to as monumental stupidity. Supper was excellent. Man, couldn't get it in fast enough. Building 2 here, or building 0. I gotta be careful now to keep these material slots straight, but what is happening is I'm putting roofs on these areas that are, I've figured are already building. So you can see that this roof is going to be this color, whereas this one's going to be this color, and each of them will be different colors. It also means if I extrude the building's roofs upward, we'll get different colors for each extrusion. Excuse me. What I need is more materials here. This one's already set to material 0. So what I need is to make a new material. Calls it material 1. I'm going to change the color of material 1. So now, like, it's already switching these over. So I want building O to be that one. And now, since I've got this new one selected, I'm going to go click new. Get the one that isn't being used, material 1. Assign. Deselect. Select. So now I can select by material. Building 3 here, I'm going to move that one down in the list, but building 2, I want it to be lighter so that it stands out a bit more. Let's select the next one. Add a new one. Oh. Delete that first. Unable to remove in edit mode. Will this cause a crash, I wonder? This one's going to this one. I can assign it there now, but I want it not to be that. I don't want it to be 2. I want it to be I want to create a new one from this one. So I just hit this, make this building 2. I'll make this one, I don't know, maybe a little more red. A dark red. And that's assigned, right? So I could deselect it or select it. So building 3, building 1, building 0, building 2. Now deselect. That one needs one, that one needs one. Another Lee statue remover, yeah. Recurring theme.
Yeah, obviously I didn't just headbutt the microphone there. That's called being mugged by reality. Sometimes, with occultism, people can get a little bit carried away with themselves, and they transform essentially irrational beliefs into rational beliefs. I've always found that odd. I think the kind of stuff that we're talking about on this podcast is all...
Jack, just so you're warned, what we're listening to here tonight is a guy called Nick Majerison. Runs a radio show or podcast out of Britain. He used to have a podcast called The Cult of Nick. And tonight's episode, or that I'm rebroadcasting, is from 2013 in October. I thought you might get a kick out of this. Oh, sorry. Funny, right? The demon episode.
Irrational. And I'm proud of the fact that it's irrational. I think it's important that it's irrational, the things that we're discussing here. Why? Because I think people are irrational. I think we're not what we pretend to be, or certainly not what our leaders would like us to pretend to be. There's this belief that there's a rational explanation for everything in the common zeitgeist. And it's absolute nonsense. It's a faith-based belief. All right, it's an assumption for which there is no evidence because everything has yet to be measured. So that's where I'm coming from with a lot of this stuff. And when I speak about occultism, I'm not talking about something that I believe is literally true. I think it's closer to art. I think it's closer to love. I think it's closer to all the kind of, stupid things that people believe because it makes life nicer and funnier and better. You know what? There's no such thing as colour. There's only the wavelengths that your brain then interprets and all that business. You know, when people talk about that, when you reduce the world to a fully explicable, rational construct, you lose something in the process. That's why I advocate occultism and magic and stuff like that, because I think it's much better to live in a world that you don't think makes sense, as opposed to one that absolutely does.
So each of those now has a different material index.
Right, if you're following this logic,
which means when we go into here,
understand the following. In
they're
this
proper
podcast,
multicolored.
We're going to be casting a magic spell, and that magic spell is either going to bring you enormously big, brilliant opportunities in the future. It's going to make you more exciting. It's going to initiate you further into the cult of Nick. It'll make you a fully functioning Discordian Pope. Imagine that. You could be the Pope of Discordianism.
Fully functioning.
Amazing, right? And it's very... Well, it's not that rare. But it could do all of those things. Or
excuse me.
It could be a horrific curse. The spell that we're about to cast could just be an awful thing. And
it's something like Art Bell. Something like Art Bell. Very much like Art Bell.
Podcast. That these things that
something
we're dicking around
very
with,
much
these
like
ideas that we're dicking around with, we're the ones in control. No one else. So, let's just explore exactly what it is that we're going to recreate. It's something that I did on the show from which a lot of these sort of pieces on the podcast were taken from. It was aired on a national radio station. It caused huge controversy at the time, and some of the fallout was absolutely bonkers. And I say that with venom. Let's have a listen to noted skeptic James Randi's take on proceedings. My name's Nick Majerison, and tonight is the night that many people have spoken about. Tonight is the night of the experiment in the occult. Yeah, listen.
Here we go.
We're broadcasting a spell at midnight tonight, cast by none other than the wickedest man in the world, Aleister Crowley. Yeah, a bloke who believed he was the Antichrist. We have a recording of him casting a spell designed to cool down
ready?
demons.
Listen, you ready? Get ready.
On for this chunk to shed some skeptical light on proceedings tonight. We're going to talk to James Randi. James Randi, thanks for joining us on the show. It's always a pleasure to have you on board. So, Aleister Crowley, was this guy for real? Could he really call down demons, do you think?
I don't believe in demons in the first place, so I don't have much belief in calling down demons, or up or sideways.
So you don't think that's a possibility?
Jesus, Nick.
What do you think will happen tonight when we broadcast this spell?
Oh, I think a lot of silly people...
I'm listening for a little while because this is just hilarious.
...are visited by demons because they have very good imaginations and or they want to get on radio.
Right, so you do think that people will respond to the spell?
They will. Oh,
Yeah.
yes, they will not respond to the spell. They'll respond to the idea of it and to their imaginations. But there will be people out there who will be crying and screaming and carrying on and falling down, or at least purporting to do so. People love to get in on the act, you know, and if it's really woo-woo, that's a special term I use.
People love to get in on the act. James Randi. They put that onto a Charlottesville poster. What'd you say there? You know, Jack used to listen to Bell, but his guests would go in circles, never really say anything. Nick is interesting because he tries to break them from the circle by asking them direct questions about what they're saying. And then when they try to get back onto their patter, their routine, he continually interrupts them by bringing them back to the thing they don't want to talk about. He's worthwhile listening to for that reason. That's why I like him. He trolls the hell out of me sometimes, though.
For folks like this, then they adore it all the more.
Now, I don't believe in this stuff. That's why I'm happy to cast evil spells to make demons appear.
Jesus Christ.
But I'll tell you some of the detail.
They're doing this in Britain too. This is probably against the law.
Take on some of this. Aleister Crowley, the wickedest man in the world, he did a spell to make demons appear, and he did it in a special language called Enochian, which is apparently the language of angels. Have you ever heard of this?
Oh yes, oh yes.
So what have you heard about it, and what's your interpretation of it?
Here we go.
Well, he was an opportunist. He saw that people would respond to silly stories like this, and he took full advantage of it. You said he was the wickedest man in the world. I probably wasn't. He was probably a nice bloke when you weren't having him on the air or having him at a seance or at a demonstration or a lecture. He was probably perfectly all right. But he liked everyone to believe that he was the wickedest man in the world. Again, he might have believed it, but I don't really think so. He also, you said that he believed he was the Antichrist. No, he said that he believed he was the Antichrist. Again, he may have actually believed it. But these are things that characters do in order to get public attention. And he got all the attention he could possibly have wanted.
So in your analysis, was Aleister Crowley just a modern day show-off, like a David Blaine or someone like that?
David Icke?
Yes, well, David Blaine is not a show-off, he's a performer, and he admits that he's a performer. But nonetheless, there are people out there who will take advantage of people's naivete, and certainly the UK, as the USA and every other country on Earth, is full of naive folks who will go for things like this at the drop of a hat.
Because, this is one of the things we've noticed, is that Aleister Crowley's name still carries this kind of resonance, because as soon as I start talking about it, phone lines light up, people are warning me, Nick, whatever you do, mess with your cult.
Don't do it, Nick.
This is going to be, you play out this spell, it'll be awful, it'll be really bad, and demons will appear, and you'll start getting bad luck, and you're telling me that definitely won't be the case, right?
Well, even as you speak, Nick, you see, I'm all a tremble here. I'm just sitting here shuddering. I've got my shamrock in hand here. I want to make sure that I have all my good luck tokens around me, and I'm crossing myself rapidly. Of course, I wouldn't want to take a chance. This is such a attitude. We are supposed to be in the 21st century. I think we're perhaps in the 17th or maybe even the 16th when it comes to many of these things.
That's true.
Do you know what? Listen, I'm going to tell you a story now.
Enochian goes back to the 16th.
Again, skeptical analysis of this, because I don't believe in this stuff, obviously, as I've said. But we were talking to a guy about getting Aleister Crowley on. We were talking about it on last week's show, and this chap was saying to us about how it works and Enochian and all this kind of business. And then right after the interview finished, James, we had a technical fault in the Kerrang radio studio. We've never had one like it before, where all the different buttons in the studio stopped working, and all that kind of stuff.
Anecdotal.
And that's just a coincidence, right?
I don't know. I'm not a technical person. I wasn't in the studio when it happened. It might also have been a gag of some kind. I've had things like that happen, too. I've had people turn off my lights surreptitiously and then roar with laughter. They think it's so funny.
Oh, man, I was terrified. I was thinking, oh, God, what's happened? I've messed with things I don't understand. And then afterwards...
This is the end of the world inadvertently.
But I was sat down and I like reading blogs, and I'm looking at these blogs, and you've got a button you can press, and it picks a random blog. And the random blog was about Aleister Crowley, written by some bloke in Portugal. Now, that's just a coincidence.
It's called Google.
I don't know, because I don't know your blog system, but I suspect it probably was, because if coincidence did happen, Nick, let's face it, If they didn't happen, then we really have a news story that would make headlines all over the world. Coincidences have got to happen, and when they don't, and they never do, well, then we've really got something to crow about.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. So, listen, final analysis.
That's
I know
a
you've
curious point,
investigated this kind of stuff in the past, and you do rigorously investigate things like the occult and psychics and stuff like that. And that's like, you know, you're famous for that. In fact, you even offer a big cash prize to people who can prove that this kind of stuff is real, right? So I know that you've looked into this kind of stuff, but I mean, do you think there's any possibility you might be wrong? Because you're kind of a hero of mine, and I'm a little bit frightened. We're doing this experiment tonight, midnight tonight. We're going to be casting a spell. If there's even a shadow of a doubt in your mind that it might go wrong, and that Crowley himself might appear, or a demon that's a real demon and not just me dicking around with sound effects, if there's even the slightest doubt, then it's possible I'll call off the experiment.
Tomorrow morning, my friend, you will wake up, open your eyes, and look around the room and say, damn,
what?
I made it through another day, and Crowley didn't get to me. And you'll call me back again in the future, and you'll say, you know, Crowley didn't get me there.
I hope you're right, man. Listen, thanks for joining us. James Randi, legend is.
I hope you're right.
And the experiment is still on, because you, sir, could have turned things around there, and you could have stopped me from cursing myself, the entire nation. James Randi from the Randi Educational Foundation. Thanks for being with us, man.
A great pleasure, sir.
Thanks,
Kerrang! It's the night before. So there we are. Now, we played that out on the night that we actually played out this spell and conjured up a demon using the words of Aleister Crowley. And a little later on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play out the audio of the magic spell and any audio that was captured of a demon talking to us. If indeed there was a demon that talked to us, I'm going to leave an element of surprise. The majority of people who listen to this podcast never encountered the Kerrang! Show in its original form. So, that's what's going to happen. Before that, though, one of my favourite thinkers in the entire world, largely because he's so positive, Howard Bloom. We interviewed this guy on a regular basis. I'm a huge fan of his work, and I have loads and loads of interviews with him. However, I particularly like this one, because I think it's the first time I introduced him to the eager nation. He became really popular as well on the show, which was really good fun. Have a listen. Howard Bloom on the show. Howard, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Nick.
Now then, Howard Bloom.
Kerrang!
How do I go about introducing Howard Bloom to the night before? Well, philosopher, would that fit?
Yes.
Philosopher probably would fit. And the idea, there's an idea that our evolutionary history that goes all the way back to when we were microbes. It's down to that we have wars and all those kind of things, and that the evil is ingrained into our very evolutionary history, right?
Yes, exactly. I mean, you've got 3.5 billion years ago, our foremothers, our ancestors, inhabited this planet.
We had foremothers?
They're called bacteria.
You
And
could have
they got
foremothers. I don't know
together-
about you.
I mean, from the beginning, Nick, they were social as could be. They got together in groups of trillions. A colony the size of your palm had more bacteria in it, all communicating with each other, than all the human beings who have ever lived. And we like to imagine that we make war because we're nasty and mean and brutish thanks to our modern industries.
Right.
It isn't true. Bacteria were making war with each other 3.5 billion years ago using weapons of mass destruction.
Really? What
Chemical
germs?
weapons.
Germs had fights with each other.
Yes, these huge armies beyond anything we can imagine. Armies of a size that goes, as I said, beyond the population of all humanity during all time. A single army would have that many members. And they were battling using what we call antibiotics.
Right.
Why do antibiotics work? We stole them from bacteria. They wipe out entire bacterial colonies. They're the weapons of
We
mass
stole
annihilation.
the plans for the
So
Death
we're talking
Star.
about
Many
wars
Bothans
that happened
died for this
between
plan.
germs on a bigger scale than World War I. Yet what we see now in terms of wars now, that's kind of an expression of the fact that we used to be germs.
Yes, it's an absolute expression of nature. And the irony, Nick, is that much as you and I loathe the violence that's taking place in the world, loathe the warfare that's going on, loathe the torture, and loathe the killing,
It's
the fact
healthy.
is, since 1992,
Come on,
the amount
spit
of
it out.
violence in war has gone down 60%.
Right.
Since 1992, the number of nations engaged in violence has gone down 50%.
Really?
That's because once upon a time we were little tribes of 15 to 35 people, and we thought it was totally wrong to kill a fellow human being. But the only fellow human beings on this planet were the people in our tribe.
Amoeba
Everything
battle.
else was fair game. Everybody else was a target for
Drop
murder.
2 amoebas in the
tribes
petri
we've
dish.
been involved
Fight!
with since then has gone up to 300 million in North America.
Gladiatorial
it's gone up to
amoebas.
300 million in the European Union.
I
It's
am
gone up to
spotting
1 billion
amoeba.
in India, and it's gone up to 1.2 billion in China. And the old rule still applies. Don't kill your fellow human beings. Kill the other guys.
So is it the case then, what I'm imagining, what you're talking about now, what I'm imagining is that it started off, we were kind of evil, and now we're becoming good.
We're not only becoming good, but the irony is you hear people saying all the time, well, pop culture is dumbing us down, it's brutalizing our minds. And in fact, what's happened over the last 50 years is even our IQ has been going up. The IQ of the average person on Earth has been going up from 3% to 7% or 8% per year
Q means
for
average.
the last 50 years. It's an astonishing phenomenon. And some who look at this say, hey, it's because of the increasing complexity of pop culture.
So when they talk about exam results getting better, every year they'll always go, oh, exam results will get better. That must mean that exams have got easier. What you're saying is that actually we're getting more intelligent.
Exactly. And the intelligence tests have to be, it's called renormalized. They have to be kicked up 10 points. They have to be made more difficult every 10 years because we keep getting smarter.
Man, this is the absolute opposite of what people usually say, though.
And here's another opposite thing.
Go on.
We're talking about saving the planet and turning it into a paradise by carbon sequestration. And guess what? That won't work. Do you have an idea of why?
Carbon, hang on a minute, carbon
Sequestration.
Tell me, what is
Taking our
that?
carbon emissions and decreasing them radically.
Right.
Decreasing
Right.
our carbon footprint.
Yeah.
Decreasing the emissions that come out of the tailpipes of automobiles and the
Okay.
smokestacks of factories.
Right.
That come out of coal-fired power plants.
Not even
Well,
talking
it sounds
carbon
very
tax,
nice
just
to
decrease
stop
emissions.
desecrating nature. It sounds very nice to cease to be planet plunderers. But the fact is we're not planet plunderers, and the real villain is Mother Nature. Mother Nature has tossed 142 mass extinctions
Right.
at the life on this planet in the time that life has been around, and none of those have come from tailpipes, and none of those have come from smokestacks.
So, hang on a minute. Let me just think this through. I'm just trying to follow you here. What you're saying is that when it comes to being environmental, the worst environmental offender is Mother Nature.
St. Louis.
Exactly. For example, we gather 3
Probably
million
going to
tons
explode tonight.
of cosmic
Minnesota.
dust in the outer layers of our atmosphere every single
How
year.
come?
But every 100,000 years, we go through
Another set of rallies there?
And the amount triples, which means we go through a horrendous change of weather. Just in the time, the 2 million years that you and I were evolving as modern human beings, or our ancestors were evolving as modern human beings, there have been 60 ice ages and 20 global warmings where the temperature has gone up 18 degrees Celsius in 10 years or less.
Yeah.
Now, that is horrific. That's what we think we're causing? No,
Oh.
I'm sorry. That's what nature taught
Gotcha,
us
Missouri.
as a challenge.
And I
Global
see why,
warming
yeah.
Without our involvement. That's
Court
what you're talking
case.
about, not man-made, but global warming. But
Exactly.
nature-made global warming.
Unpopular
Howard, as I
reaction
expected,
to,
you're blowing my mind. I
or
want you to stay there.
unpopular
We're going to have a short tune. It's
decision.
Kerrang Radio. It's the night before. Can I just say, senior producer Alex, do you see what I mean? The guy's blowing our minds.
He's awesome.
We like it. Okay, listen there. Do you see what I mean? Junior producer Amy Jones, guy's blowing our minds.
Yeah, indeed.
Told you that was going to happen. Listen, I'm going to play you a quick tune. We'll be back with Howard Bloom here. Do you know what? I'm confused. I'm stunned. The reason for that, my mind being slightly blown by the chap that we've got with us at the moment, Howard Bloom. Let me read some quotes here. Howard Bloom may just be the next Stephen Hawking, except he's not just interested in science. Let me give you another quote. Howard Bloom is the Albert Einstein, Sir Isaac Newton, Charles Darwin and Sigmund Freud of the 21st century. How does it make you feel to hear those quotes?
It's wonderful.
Who
it
wrote
makes
them?
You feel very humbled. I mean, how could I possibly live up to those quotes? But I've been trying to do it all my life, Nick.
He wrote them.
Do you know what, though? You were talking to us earlier about the idea that we started off as microbes, and the fact that we started off as microbes, that's why we have wars. That's an expression of our microbial ancestry. And, I mean,
Curious
it's
thought.
kind of, a lot of this is very heavy and complex stuff. How did you get into it?
Oh, God. When I was 10 years old, I had no place in the normal world of human beings. Every kid around wanted to beat me up. I heard about Galileo. I heard that there were two basic rules of science: the truth at any price, including the price of your life, which was what I was told Galileo had adhered to. And the second rule is look at things right under your nose as if you've never seen them before, and then proceed from there. And since there was no room for me on the planet of normal people, I found a space for myself in the world of science, got a microscope, and dove immediately into theoretical physics and biology at the age of, or microbiology at the age of 10.
I like those two principles. Hang on a minute. Let's slow down with this. So look at the world as the world at the end of your nose as if you'd never seen it before.
Yes. Look at things right under your nose that everybody takes for granted, as if you've never seen them before, and then be astonished. Then proceed from the point of that astonishment. I mean, maybe you don't. I worked with Michael Jackson, Prince, Bob Marley, Bette Midler, AC/DC, Aerosmith, Kiss, Queen, and that was my field.
Listen to the list.
When I discovered Michael Jackson was the most wonderful of those people, in fact, one of the most wonderful people I've ever encountered on the planet, because when it comes to the second rule of science, look at things right under your nose as if you've never seen them before. Michael has a quality of wonder that defies belief. When he sees something even the slightest bit new, he sees an infinity in it. If you're standing next to him, you can feel his knees buckle and you hear him making the sounds of orgasm, simply over what he has seen in some small thing in which other people have seen nothing at all.
Why did Nick choose this one?
Blimey, okay, well, that's high praise indeed. So how come you worked with these guys?
Sorry.
What did you do with them?
Well, I did not want to go to grad school in the normal way because I couldn't get at the heart of human passions by giving paper and pencil tests to 22 college students, which is what you do when you've passed grad school and have become a professional psychologist or the theoretician of mass behavior. And instead, I dove into a sort of voyage of the Beagle of my own, a voyage of adventure. And I never had listened to pop music or rock and roll music in my life, but I founded the largest public relations firm in the record industry, in the music industry, and ended up working with Queen and Kiss and Run DMC and just about every act you heard of in the 1970s and 1980s, and it was a phenomenal experience for a scientist to get access to the kind of passions that go roaring when Michael Jackson is doing a tour and you've got 3,000 press people covering you in New York and L.A. It's beyond belief.
Right, and from this, you got your grand unified theory of everything in the universe, including the human soul.
Exactly. Because from the very beginning, from the age of 13, I was looking for the gods inside of us. I realized that I was an atheist, and but that everybody that I'd ever heard of on the planet believed in gods and devils in some form, believed in heavens and hells. And if there were no gods and devils outside of us, then where in the world were the gods and devils? Obviously, inside of us, not right under our nose, right behind our nose.
So what is your grand unified theory of everything in the universe,
that's a little bit different.
Soul?
It's that you find common patterns in the universe everywhere. At the very beginning of the cosmos, you have something called sociality. You have a spurt, a rain shower, a storm of quarks emerging.
He makes an interesting point, but I do disagree with it a little.
Emerging from nothing, and those quarks have social rules right from the beginning. The social rules are get together with a quark of this kind, but avoid a quark of another kind. Those are rules of attraction and repulsion, we call them. And quarks gang up in groups of three from the very beginning, and then groups of three quarks gang up in larger groups. Those quarks, those little trios, are called neutrons and protons.
Okay,
so
fair.
From the beginning, you've got whatever is around in this universe gathering together in little gangs that make bigger gangs, that make bigger gangs, that make bigger gangs, even before there's life.
So the unified theory is that everyone unifies and gets together?
Yes, everybody unifies and gets together, but also battles and competes.
You know what, Howard? You've absolutely blown my mind. I want to thank you for joining us on the show. It's been awesome to talk to you. Hopefully we'll get you on again sometime.
Nick, you're a delight.
Take care, man. There we go, Howard Bloom.
We were talking about the same kind of stuff yesterday, only it was what do you do with a bunch of different groups? Like there's 6 or 7 different groups all identified.
I was hoping to set one up this week. It's been slightly trickier than I expected, so I'm mucking around with it a little bit more, trying to work out do I need a business account or yada yada yada. In fact, if anyone has any advice on how to set up a PayPal account, do pop a comment onto the blog or contact the show in whatever form you want. Listen, if you're enjoying this podcast, you think it's a pretty good one, or you've enjoyed any of the other podcasts in this feed, don't forget you can obviously subscribe to them. They're all as badass as each other. www.thecultofnick.co.uk. That's the best website to go to. If you go on there, there's a big button that's grey that you can click on that says subscribe on iTunes. Click on that and you get the whole feed, and there's hundreds of these.
This is from several years ago,
but there's a lot of them anyway. Almost 100 or so podcasts now, and like I say, each one totally badass. And taking you in different directions, hopefully, and knocking your head around and advocating irrational silliness. So, now we're going to have a little listen to a magic spell that calls up a magic demon. However, if you're a nutter, right, who gets very confused about the distinction between irrational and rational, and you genuinely
he did sound like Jeff Goldblum
and all that kind of stuff is real and are real,
a little,
and, you're going to get possessed
not
by it.
Not exactly, but quite a bit, like, yeah.
Then please stop listening to the podcast. I'm not interested in you. I've got no time for you, to be honest. I just can't be bothered. Not on this particular day.
It's a countdown.
Don't bother with this podcast. Ceremonially burn it or something like that. However, if you're in the same headspace that I am, what will happen is when you listen to this piece, it will make you a better person, it will make you luckier, it will make you happier, and ultimately the demon that appears on this audio will enhance your life massively. That's if you're on exactly the same page as me. If you're on a similar page to mine, you'll probably look across and smile. Have a listen. It's the night before. My name's Nick Majerison, and this is it. The moment the entire nation has been waiting for. What we're about to do is we're about to play a spell. The sound of Aleister Crowley casting a spell. And this is black magic. This is the real deal. This is a request for a demon to manifest right here in the physical plane.
Let's get it down,
so to come down from the spirit
I'm having
world
a laugh.
and transmute
I'm going to be working the rest of the night.
form right here before your very eyes. Now, I need to broadcast a warning first of all before we do this.
Okay.
I don't believe in all this kind of stuff. I think it's all silly. If you do believe in ghosts and all that kind of stuff, if you're a religious person, if you're easily offended, if you suffer from mental or emotional traumas, if you're easily suggestible, please go away from the radio. Give us about 15 minutes and then we'll be...
Come back. Okay.
We'll be over this.
Good.
You know, it's really strange. This is just you and me talking to each other now. No one else in the studio. Middle of the night. Alex and Amy hid in a room because they're frightened. This is so silly. Okay, so I'm going to broadcast the first part of the spell. This is Aleister Crowley, an occultist, described as the wickedest man in the world, calling for demons to manifest. We'll play you part 1.
You ready? Here we go, you two.
Part 2, and once part 2 is finished, in theory, that's when it all kicks off. Have a listen.
Sonu very shaji go yad blata elanu saha kelazod so brazo do ray iton was a datisad jira tamel pireti das toel quo kan ta haaz of the nazon
sounds like he forgot to put his teeth in today.
So bata hio ginono peter regialadi Gospel Rede, Obo Lehe, Yalesam.
Lehe?
Them,
How do you know about the trailer? Never mind.
Das Zodin Saji Tab Erem Yadanahe. Yilahe, Farezodim, Zodin Zoda, Adana Gono Yadatil, Das Omidsohe. So by Tommy, you Tommy, das Dobala,
Ixnay on the Ogre Bay.
Odbujera, I, Tapiate, Yamael, Odron. Yoda Karieka, Odro Domeranu. Odo Kitale Ka Zodo Reje Late Zodia Redo Nako Mada Watahe
Okay, that's part 1 of the spell. Part 2 on the way in a second. Remember, the audio quality of these, not so good.
I'm just going to pause for a second. Yes, Nick is still working. Nick's still working. Nick Majerison. He's Nickel Arse. I'll give you his name on Twitter. I think that's his name on Twitter. He's been working for different radio stations the last couple of years. He gave up the podcast pretty much altogether, but he's getting to be like, he's got enough of a following that he can be a host in his own right. He's worked as a studio producer a lot of the time too. If he's not doing the mic work, he's doing producer work. Which is what he's doing here.
Recorded on wax cylinders many, many years ago. Do you feel any different? This is weirding me out a little bit. I'll be honest with you. This is weirding me out a little bit. Here's the second part of this spell. If it's weirding
this is
you
on a
out
rock
too
and roll
much,
station.
like I say, we'll be back to normal about 10 minutes time from now once we've proved there's no such thing as demon. Okay, part 2 of the spell.
I think you said you got a guitar at the pawn shop? What? Wonder did he know William S. Burroughs? Hey, thanks, King B. The map is coming along quite nice. This is in perspective mode, and I'm just starting to add in the roofs. The roofs will start to be colored in now so that I can make these buildings separate. So we're only getting there, but it's getting there fast. Never mind. Gosh, man.
That's it.
Silence.
If anything was going to happen, it would have happened by now.
I'm feeling it coming on, Nick. I'm feeling it coming on.
What's this?
Hey, stop doing that shit, man. Ah.
Oh, the bloody hell are we?
Oh, I thought I thought maybe that was the Germans arriving.
Yep.
The Stukas.
I'm a demon.
Get to the pom-poms.
A magic demon from the land of demons.
I don't believe that. No, you're not.
I am too a demon.
Don't believe a word of it, mate.
Just turn my W.
Mate. Listen, you might think that this is some sort of wacky comedy bit that you pre-recorded for a bit of fun, but actually, I'm a proper demon talking out of your head.
I don't believe in demons, so I know for a fact you're not a demon. What do you think I have? Gone mad or something? There's no demon. There is no such thing as a demon.
Well, maybe you have gone
Yeah, it was
mad.
Crowley first.
Listen
Crowley
to
was
yourself.
what he led into it
You're
with.
having a conversation with the voices in your head. That's what's happening. Now, if that's not demonic possession, I don't know.
I don't know what it is.
No, I'm doing a radio show, and
Well,
that's why
have
I'm
it your own
talking.
way. Look at it however you want. The facts are this: I am a demon.
No, you're not a demon. So that's what. Did you just fart?
Oh, excuse me.
Did you-
I am a demon.
Did you just break?
And,
You're not a farting demon. That doesn't make any sense.
have you not read John Milton's Paradise Lost?
No.
It's very well documented that us angels, demons, we don't crap food out. We expel it as a gas because, you know, we live.
What?
We live in the clouds, don't we? And if we were up there with our harps, dicking around, playing songs and stuff, and then we were crapping on you humans on your heads,
right?
That wouldn't be any good for anyone, would it? So we expel our food as a gas.
What?
And, you know, that's just more proof that I'm a demon, really.
No, it's not. This is stupid. You're not a demon. There's no such thing as... You're not farting demon.
It's not, but, you know... Look, if you're going to be rude...
He was working for Kerrang Radio when he did this.
All right.
This
You've
is a
had
stunt,
your chance.
right?
You've
Beautiful
had a chat
stunt.
to a demon.
Go on, then.
You didn't have anything interesting to say.
Ah, you smell as well.
Bye-bye. I've had enough.
Go. So there we are. Gripping
Last
stuff.
3 weeks I've been
Not
watching
dissimilar to
Lionel
the time I
make
had a
fart
conversation
noises with his
God,
hands.
which you may have heard if you've heard all of the Cult of Nick. That's how
3
you
weeks,
join, by
2
the way.
months.
The only way to join the Cult of Nick, listen to every single version of this podcast, every single episode, all of the ones that you can find. And once you've listened to every single one, then you're initiated into the Cult of Nick.
Oh,
and once
no.
you're an initiate, you get a special prize. I don't know what you get. You don't get anything. You get really good at parties. Right? You can tell lots of interesting stories and talk about things
Thanks,
that most
Nick.
people don't think about because they can't be bothered. How
Thanks
about
for
that? That's what you get.
bearing with me,
That's your
boys. I
bonus
gotta get back to
for
work.
being a member of the Cult of Nick. We have, I think, 6 confirmed members so far who've said that they've listened
6.
to all of them to me online in some form or other. Also, don't forget the music on this podcast is taken from Zero Friends Recordings. He's a mate of mine, the guy who makes the music, and I think he's very good. I enjoy the soundscapes he makes. We may soon be switching the music and changing to someone else. Not because I've lost patience with Zero Friends Recordings by any stretch.
One more. This next one might get me in genuine trouble.
Later, the guy behind it called Richard Chamberlain.
Not because of demons.
Show. You have it here. You have the podcast. You've listened to it. I'm just going through in my mind a list of things that I need to tell you. I can't think of anything else that I need to tell you other than the fact that you should always keep it surreal. Live life as a Discordian.
Keep it
And do not
surreal.
agree with anyone ever about anything. 100%. Always have a slight modicum of doubt. Right? Listen, I'm being a bit silly. I've just drank a massive gulp of coffee and I'm quite pleased with today's podcast. I think it's quite a good one. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next Tuesday.
This is the Cult of Nick.
Alrighty then, and welcome along to the Cult of Nick show. What have we got? Well, we've got an interview with a Scientologist. I remember airing this interview very clearly. I remember the group Anonymous, or people claiming to represent the group Anonymous, being furious that I'd aired an interview about Scientology. I was totally taken aback, actually, and it was quite frightening to realise that a group that maybe I'd helped out early on in its sort of starting point, and that's a long story, but and you might even be aware of it, but suddenly seemed to turn quite fascistic, and it was very odd the way in which they behaved. And I'll be honest with you, it completely popped me off, Anonymous, and made me think that I didn't like them anymore and that I didn't want any part of them, which was a shame because, as I say, I was kind of involved in the very early stages of it back in the days when it was involved with the... It still is 4chan, right? There's a forum called 4chan. Does people from Anonymous still go there, or it all seems to have gone a bit weird, that movement? It really
2013 he released this
we
one.
aired this interview, and we had people calling in, getting furious. We had people making threats. I mean, serious threats. Bit of a shock to witness the turning of that group. But there we are. Good things can't last forever, can they? And it was kind of inevitable, really. It was going to go that way. So there we go. Let's have a little listen to the interview itself. It hugely controversial at the time. It's caused enormous problems as various Anon got furious about it, which seems a bit silly when you listen back to it, bearing in mind that it's relatively harmless. And, Google Scientology and the counter-arguments appear like that. It's Kerrang Radio, it's the night before. My name's Nick Majerus, and with us we have Chris Rapson. And Chris Rapson
Nice cut, Nick.
is
Nice cut.
a friend of the show and a Scientologist.
That's right.
That's what you are.
I am.
So you're mates with Tom Cruise. That's what you are.
Well, I'm not on first name terms, but...
Livid. Listen, I don't know anything about Scientology, so let's get down to basics. First of all, how did you become a Scientologist?
Basically, I was working in Bristol, and the job that I had a lot to do with getting my message across to my target audience, the people that I wanted to get to, and I was really into that. I'd started reading a few books. Positioning the Battle for the Mind was one of them, and I was really interested. I was hooked. This mind, the mind and having a position in a person's mind, all this kind of stuff. And I was down in London Underground, travelling across on a few of the escalators. There was these adverts that were down. It were all about Scientology, the fundamentals of thought. And I was like, so what's all that about then? The fundamentals of thought. Well, wow.
Oh, we're going to get the full friggin' spiel here. Be careful.
Be careful of how people think and what they're thinking and why they're thinking it and why do people do things.
Because you're talking, idiot.
So I was like, I want to get that book. And
can I study a bridge?
I went to some bookshops. I couldn't get hold of it. Nowhere in Bristol stocked it. And then probably 2 or 3 years later, I'd moved to the West Midlands, Birmingham area. Met a girl on the street, and she said, have you ever done a personality test? And I was like, no. Why not? Well, I'm too scared.
Right, so you met someone.
Yeah.
A girl who said, have you ever done a personality test?
Yeah, she was no, she wasn't chatting me up. She
wanted a bit of the Rapson.
No, she didn't. She was a volunteer for the Church of Scientology. Right. And she goes, well, why don't you come on in and do a personality test? I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. I was like, I had time to kill. It was my weekend off and I was in town, so I might as well. So I went in and I sat down and she started talking to me about stuff, and I looked to my side and there was a bookshelf there, and on that bookshelf was loads and loads and loads of copies of Scientology, the Fundamentals of Thought. Oh my God, I've been looking for that for years.
Right.
That's how I got in.
So you did a personality test?
Yeah, I was looking for it, basically.
And did you have a personality? How does that work? What is a personality test?
You answer a series of questions, and then it kind of gives you an indication as to what your personality is like. And the girl was chatting to me about it, and I looked at it, and I was like, well, yeah, okay, you're quite right, actually. There are some of the things that you're saying that are actually quite true, and some of the things that I knew about myself that I wanted to handle. Bottom line, I was looking for something, right? I was looking for something that was going to help me in my life to achieve what I wanted to achieve, which was to be the best, to be happy. I'm one of those people, and there's lots of us, who, when they die, have on their, the tombstone, whatever.
Gravestone,
there you go. He did all he could. That's what I want to be known as. I did all I could to do the best for me, my family, my friends.
Oh, he's Tom Cruise.
The people I meet, the general society, improve our lot, because there's a lot of stuff that goes on.
He doesn't know him yet.
Feel quite helpless and unable to do anything about.
I'm kidding.
So now you're a Scientologist. Let me ask you though. I mean, I don't know anything about Scientology. Like I say, all I know is that the BBC doesn't like you lot, right? In fact, all I know is that most media organisations seem to have a big problem with you guys. That makes me interested. So, okay. I mean, do you guys? It's a religion, right? Do you have a god?
Very good question, and you're right. It is a religion, and it has been ratified by European High Court on Human Rights. It was, I think, the 5th of April 2007, actually. The European Court of Human Rights ruled...
Do you have a god?
So I'm just picking up this one point. Beyond any doubt that, yes, we are a religion and we are protected by the rights of every other religion that you have in the UK and across Europe.
And do you have a god?
Well, the thing about that is that what Scientologists believe is that we are spiritual beings. You are a spiritual being. You are not your body. You are you. We call that thetan, from the Greek letter theta, which means spirit. Right. So you have a body, you are a spiritual being. Now, in Scientology, we subdivide the desire to survive into 8 different dynamics or urges towards survival. I am going to answer your question.
Right.
Now, these subdivisions we call dynamics. The first dynamic is self, your own things, and you. The second dynamic is marriage, sex, and the rearing of children. The third dynamic is groups.
What do you mean by groups?
Any group. The people you play your football club,
Right.
your scout group, whatever.
Okay.
Any group, any bunch of people that get together that try to survive together as a group is the third dynamic.
That's the third dynamic, right? Fourth dynamic is
Mankind.
humanity,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
We're all part of that.
Exactly. Fifth dynamic, life forms, right? Trees, plants, animals, insects, etc., etc., etc. Sixth dynamic is the physical
Satan.
universe. So that's matter, energy, space, and time.
Yeah.
That's how we break it
That's
down.
getting closer.
We refer to it as MEST, matter, energy, space, and time.
Messed.
Those are the things that are real. You know, the wood, the buildings, all that stuff that is there, that is around us. That is the material universe. The
Listen,
physical
buddy, you're going to
universe.
be done in there
That's
soon or
6.
what?
7 is the spiritual dynamic.
not-
Anything to do with existence as a spirit or striving to survive as a spirit is the 7th dynamic. The 8th dynamic is infinity, or the God dynamic. Therefore, there is a creator, the allness of all, whichever way anybody wants to refer to it, that is what the 8th dynamic is. It is that higher forces, that spiritual whatever. That is what the 8th dynamic is. Now,
Gotcha.
and the thing about Scientology is that it's what is true for you. So I believe in higher forces. You ask another Scientologist, they might say it to you in a different way. But we all agree that there is something there that is a higher existence.
Gotcha. So you do. So it's part. Right. Okay. So I understand now. But you wouldn't say give God a name. You know, he's not called Dave or anything like that.
No, not necessarily, no.
But you could do. And I suppose you could say, well, I believe in the 8th dynamic of God, and I'm going to call it Dave. If you wanted to, couldn't you?
Yeah, if you wanted to, yeah.
Right, gotcha.
If
So
you wanted
you
to.
do believe in a God in that sense, right? Okay, so that makes sense. I've never heard that question asked or answered before.
Okay.
Okay, listen. Do you know what? There's a huge list of myths that I've got written out in front of me here.
Yeah.
You were founded by a guy called L. Ron Hubbard, and he used to write science fiction stories.
That's right.
That's true, is it right?
Yeah. The way he funded his research was to write science fiction novels, to allow him to continue to do his research into the mind, the spirit, humanity, man, and all of that. That's how he funded it in the first place.
And disappointingly, he's not your God. That's a shame. Do you know what? It's Kerrang Radio. It's the night before, and with us we have Chris Rapson talking about Scientology, and we'll get on to some other stuff very soon. It's Kerrang. It's Kerrang Radio. It's the night before. With us
Totally
we
hit
have
him right in
Chris
his face
Rapson.
there that time.
He's a Scientologist. Scientologists
Hit him with an
notorious
idea.
for
They
not giving interviews.
put it
and
into
not
his head,
talking
whether he
about
liked it
their
or
beliefs,
not.
yeah, you know, it's funny because the only time I've really seen a proper interview with a Scientologist is there was a guy from the BBC shouting at one of you lot.
Yeah.
Livid with you. What was that about?
There was a preconceived hidden agenda to that Panorama programme. If you want to know more about it, you can check out, I think it's bbc-panoramaexposed.org or panorama-exposed.org.
Because a lot of people really do hate you, don't they? I mean,
Squirrel
they have a big
busters.
problem with Scientology.
Well, a hell of a lot of people like us too. At the end of the day, what are we trying to do? What is Scientology all about, and what is it trying to do? Well, what we're about is a society without criminality, without war, right? Where people do have rights and man can rise to greater heights. I mean, that is what we're all about, and we have like several community outreach programs. Just one example is the Youth for Human Rights International Know Your Human Rights campaign, which was partly funded by the Church of Scientology International Human Rights Office. And there is a change happening. When you have a group of people who are single-mindedly trying to do something about the crap that you see going on around us, not only in other countries, it's in our backyard, and we are doing something about it. And when you have a group of people that are doing that and working on it dedicatedly every single day, every single minute of the day, every single day of the year, no matter what, then somebody who doesn't want that to happen
yeah,
is
exactly.
going to
That's
try
happened
to...
since, or this was that was happening around the time this was recorded, that they got their exempt status. So Scientology's ever since been trying to overrepresent or fudge the numbers as to what the actual membership is, considering the amount of property they own.
Stop you.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I say, I've got a list of myths here. Let's go
Not exactly the Vatican yet, is
through
it?
some of these. You can tell me if they're right or wrong.
Okay.
And this isn't research. This is just vague interest.
Yeah.
Magazine articles.
That's some mighty good,
documentaries on.
mighty good break I had a minute ago.
Yeah.
So on and so forth. Right.
Fine.
Let me have a look. First of all, you have
Finally
to
got
pay
this material
cash
thing
to
down
do
there.
well as a
Pretty easy.
Scientologist. Is that true?
Every single church exists on donations from its members. So do ours.
So when you go up the ranks, do you have to pay money to go up the ranks?
You don't have to. There are services that you can get at churches of Scientology.
There's services you can perform.
We are basically a religious education college, right? And there are aspects of Scientology that anybody of any
He does the British
denomination
schoolmarm
can
really
use
well.
to help improve areas of their life. So people can do courses to gain knowledge in Scientology on how to deal with those situations in their life.
I know what I'm talking about when I say British schoolmarm, because I actually had a couple of schoolmarms while I was in Britain, and one of them, even as one of the routines for her grade whatever class, in the morning, rather than do a roll call, we only had to say a number. Different mornings she would ask for the number in different languages. The languages included German. It was quite fun.
The reason is that obviously, to be able to do that, to provide that service, you exchange a donation. Now, the churches cannot exist without donations, right? If nobody made any donation for anything, well, then it would never be there. How do you think other places of worship manage to build their places of worship? Well, it's donations from their parishioners.
Okay.
Same for us.
You don't let mothers scream when they have
Donations.
kids.
I thought you might mention that. Well, the thing about that is that, you know, it's quite funny because a lot of these things are actual misquotations, you know, and just information that's put out there to try and discourage people from finding out for themselves, right? And that's the one thing that I'd say to you is find out for yourself, you know?
That's what I'm doing.
I know that. I know you are. And the whole thing about that is when my wife gave birth to our son, she could say what the noise that she made was God, you're going through that something that intense, right? It would be practically impossible to not make any sound. The key thing about the whole Scientology birth is it's no different from any other birth, and it's widely accepted, especially in the midwifery profession. And widely respected the world over, that for a child to come into a calm, quiet environment in which they cannot be scared or startled or anything like that is widely accepted as good practice. And it's the same with a Scientology birth. The only thing that is required is that the doctors remain as quiet as possible and move slowly and don't make sudden movements and don't make shouty noises. And do you know what I mean? It's like, it's no different.
It's Kerrang! Radio. It's the night before. We're with Chris Rapson. He's a Scientologist. We're talking about Scientology. I'm going to ask him about the God Galactic in a minute.
Right, okay.
It's Kerrang! Radio. It's the night before. With us we have Chris Rapson. He's a Scientologist. And at the moment we're just going through a list of myths that I have written out in front of me that I've picked up in my various wanderings in the world. Let me have a look. Okay, so the fastest way to annoy a Scientologist is to tell them Scientology is a cult.
True
is that
or
right?
false?
If somebody went up to anybody of any other religion and said that to them, what do you think their reaction would be?
I've said that to a Christian. He didn't really react, to be honest. He laughed it off, like you're doing.
Exactly. So the thing about that is that Section 4 Public Order Act, right, actually says that a person is guilty of an offence if he uses towards another person threatening, abusive, or insulting words or behaviour, or distributes or displays to another person any writing, sign, or other visible representation which is threatening, abusive, or insulting, with intent to cause that person to believe that immediate unlawful violence would be used against him or another by any person, or to provoke the immediate use of unlawful violence by that person or another, or whereby that person is likely to believe that such violence will be used, or it is likely that such violence will be provoked. It also says that Section 4A also says of the Public Order Act that a person is guilty of an offence if, with intent to cause a person harassment, alarm, or distress, he uses threatening, abusive, or insulting words or behaviour, or displays any writing, sign, or other visible representation which is threatening, abusive, or insulting, thereby causing that or another person harassment, alarm, or distress. So, it is unlawful to do that.
It's unlawful to describe Scientology as a cult?
Absolutely.
Really? What, because it's offensive?
Yeah, to the person that it's being said to.
Blimey. So, I mean, I could understand if it were physically threatening, if it were violent or something like that, but simply because it's insulting.
That's what the law says.
Wow. Man. That's not a good law, I don't think.
Really?
Yeah, I don't mind being insulted.
But when it comes to somebody's religious belief and what they hold true to them, that what helps them get through their life, it's their belief, right? Whatever that belief is. Now, I don't just get upset if someone says that about me. I don't just get upset if someone says that about my religion. I get upset when someone says that about anybody or anybody's religion. I'm not here fighting just for my rights. I'm fighting for the rights of everybody to practice their religion and their belief, because it's what they believe. It's what works for them, and it's what they hold true to them and dear to them. We have, every single one of us, the right to do that. So, what's the beef? I mean, anyone's entitled to believe what they want to believe. It's our basic right. We have the right to freedom of conscience, decision, and religion.
And so people have the right to believe you're a cult?
If that's what they want to believe, then that's what they want to believe. But they don't have the right to go around trying to say things about me personally, or to say defamatory things about my religion based on their say-so.
You believe in the God Galactic,
whatever,
and aliens,
whatever, blah blah blah,
stuff
blah,
like that. Is that
blah,
right?
Blah blah. Yeah, whatever.
Really, none of that. Isn't all that true?
No.
I find that disappointment.
Don't
believe in aliens or anything?
The laughter is canned.
Why do people say that?
Laughter.
Where's that come from?
I don't know.
You honestly don't know where that comes from?
No. Like I said before, one of the key things in Scientology is what it is to you. It's whatever is true to you is what is true and nothing else. It's called personal integrity. Whatever is true is what's true for you. So you want to know more about Scientology, you want to find the answers, read a book, read Dianetics, find out what it's all about, find out where it comes from, find out why did it start, find out what the research was, read Evolution of a Science, and read what Ron's research track was. The book Evolution of a Science was sent out in newspapers just before the release of Dianetics. Now basically what happened was that paper release that was put in as an insert into newspapers created such a massive demand for more information that Ron had to go off and write the book Dianetics to answer the millions of questions that he was receiving from people. And since 1950, it's been the #1 bestseller in the New York Times list, and has sold 22 million copies worldwide, and more every single day. 22 million people can't be wrong. It works.
But if you Google Scientology, it must be like the fourth thing that comes up. A story about the God Galactic who's going to come back to this planet and
blah blah.
I'm so disappointed you guys don't believe in that. Honestly. You've lost a convert.
Wow.
That's disappointing. So Tom Cruise doesn't believe in aliens either.
He might do, but that's up to him.
Right, let me ask you. Next question. Certainly a lot of journalists say this. If you criticise Scientology, you should expect to be harassed at worst and character assassinated at best.
Have I harassed you?
Not yet.
What? Okay.
I don't know how. It depends how this interview goes. If I keep telling you about the God Galactic, maybe you will. Well, how does it work? Tell me.
What is the media? Do they ever
tell me the internet did not invent trolling?
That is,
he flashes, he loses.
1950, Dianetics hit the shelves. And instantly, you had Dianeticists all over the world.
Sounds like a
Just to
spib
clarify,
selling something fell off the back of a
is
truck.
the book that Ron Hubbard wrote.
Yeah.
Spib fuck.
Sort of.
This thing here fell off the back of a truck. Don't ever worry about it. Everything inside is verified scientifically. Don't ever worry about it. All you gotta do is read the book.
Sort of outlines a load of stuff. I thought it was like a self-help book when I read it.
Well, yeah, it is.
I've only read a little bit of it, though.
Yeah.
So that was the book that he wrote, 1950. Carry on.
Yeah. When Ron embarked on his research,
Ron.
he, as a young kid, he was very adventurous.
Ron
he spent
Livingston?
a lot of time in other countries.
Who's that
he
other
actually
Ron?
says in the only filmed interview that he ever gave that he studied 20, I think it was
Richie
27
Cunningham,
primitive
yeah.
races, including the white race. And as a result of that, as a young man, he was looking around and saying, "Why all this? What's going on here? Why is there so much suffering? Why is there so much hatred? Why is there so much? Why are people not helping each other? Why is there not more
City
compassion?
Hall.
Why can't we just work together and help each other and improve things for ourselves?" Well, he ended up going to George Washington University, and his majors were science and mathematics. But he, while he was there, while some members of his class went off and built the atom bomb, which, hey, that was a good idea. He decided to find out what made man tick.
Sound like an edit there.
And he got down to it, and okay, it's thought, it's the mind,
Atom
the
bomb.
power of the mind over the body. And so he did research into it, and he did extensive research, and in the end he spent 50 years doing this research and culminating in what you have now in Scientology. Dianetics itself means through the soul, which comes from two Greek words, dia and nous. You put them together in new engineering terms, and it becomes Dianetics, through the soul.
In
It
new
is
engineering
the modern
terms.
science of mental health. And you know what?
The science of the new engineering.
Amazing things can happen when somebody studies and applies Dianetic techniques to themselves and their friends and their family. It's amazing. It is truly amazing. And to really know what Dianetics is all about, you need to read it. Dianetics tells you the reactive mind is what is the source of your problems in life, and Dianetics can get rid of it.
If you leave Scientology, you get into trouble and become a non-person. You get excommunicated.
Whatever.
Is that not true?
No.
So if you left, would you get into trouble with the Scientologists?
If that's what I really chose to do,
Is he telling the truth or not?
because I believed that it was right, then
Yeah.
fine. But you know what? That ain't ever
Cool
gonna
thing,
happen.
Hilljack.
You never know.
I'll be around.
I can guarantee you.
Although he probably
I
got
can
some
guarantee
work to do on the road
it
if you want
has
to.
fundamentally changed my life.
So one of the things that I've heard about is enemies of Scientology
Yeah.
become the target of fair game, which is...
What website have you been on, Nick? For goodness
Listen,
sake.
you Google, these things come up like that. Never heard of that?
No. What is it?
Well,
no
apparently-
idea. I don't actually want to know because whatever. Whatever.
Really? Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, this is you Google, you'll find these things straight away. Got to be honest with you, I'm disappointed by the God Galactic.
Yeah, okay.
When it comes to Scientology,
Right.
the reason that you get a lot of negative publicity is because...
Perhaps.
Well, yeah, but do you know, I've honestly never, ever come across
Right.
in the mainstream media
Pauses,
a
Theo.
positive article about Scientology, ever.
Really?
Have you?
Yeah.
Tell me one.
Street cleanups, going actually in Birmingham and lots of other places too, where we basically get a bunch of volunteers together and go and clean up.
I'm gonna make a new material. It's gonna be called
there's
Parking
a
Lot.
before and after shot. There's a street that's
Or
got syringes and
block.
rubbish and all that kind of
So it'll be
junk in there.
Genuine,
We go in, repaint
generic,
it,
concrete grey or
clean
something.
up all the rubbish off the floor, put it back
with
together.
the blue area for
It's
parking
done.
lots.
It was in the paper. It was in the local paper.
Some of those over here
and
too.
it happens all over the world.
Do you guys believe in reincarnation?
Absolutely, you're a spiritual being, so the body goes, but you don't.
So have you had a past life?
Past lives have been conclusively proved in Scientology, yes.
Do you have a heaven in Scientology? I mean, do you?
There's most definitely a sense of right and wrong. Scientology has its own set of ethics principles, if you like, and can restore to an individual his ability to make more of the right choices. The most right you can be would be total survival, infinity. The most wrong you could be would be dead.
Now, you guys really don't like psychiatry. In fact, that's how you and I met.
That is how we met.
Because you really don't like psychiatry at all. Why is that, and how long has that been the case?
You look at the history of psychiatry, you have death, murder, mutilation, harm, electric shock, right? Mass drugging of children as young as 4.
It's fun to listen to him just rhyming off, thinking he's in a fairly good spot.
Psychiatrists are saying our profession needs to change and these abusive practices have to stop.
But it's just because it's wrong.
There's time that is clear his laughter has been learned, and he sounds like fucking Tom Cruise.
Well, that's all.
Well, not that it's wrong. Right.
Is there a specific reason why Scientology doesn't get on with psychiatry?
Little guy behind him
When
fucking
Dianetics came
moving
out,
the stick up and down.
when Mr. Hubbard was researching what made man tick, the dynamic principle of existence is to survive. That is what Ron found out. He then went about conclusively proving that. He took his findings and presented it to the American Psychiatric Association, and they didn't want to know. For whatever reason, I don't know. Straight after the book was released, he went from being this amazing guy, you know, this fantastic new thing that could totally, you know, it was as big as Einstein's theory and et cetera, and all this stuff that was being said, like how great it was. Overnight, suddenly, he was the devil.
Interesting.
Draw your own conclusions. I mean,
well, yeah. I mean, like I say, it's difficult to, because Google it. Obviously, Scientology, the main site will come up, and then underneath it, there's all of the different, websites, enemies of Scientology. I mean, really, people who aren't keen on you. I mean, man, listen, I had a look through a few of the pages, picked up some of these myths, and man, listen, let me tell you, I found one on page 5 of the Google
parking
search,
lot,
talking about how you guys worship Satan, and it's a
probably
big trick to get people to worship Satan.
Yeah, a couple different
hey,
colors
listen,
for those.
you want to watch out. I've heard bad things about Satan. If you are worshipping him, I wouldn't bother. He sounds like a nightmare.
Before we get any further here, I got to talk for a few minutes as I do this next thing. I've been doing a repetitive task. I think you could see what I was doing. Or at least I feel confident you could. The deal with making a new material from scratch with what I'm planning to render is I don't need to use any kind of lights. I don't need to put any kind of simulated lights into here to get some light information on here. If I was doing the geography and I was trying to replicate that photograph or something, I'd use a lamp that was set up to simulate a sun. But in this case, all my materials are set to be what's called shadeless, which is down here under shading. I can pick a color for parking lot. Let's say it's going to be a gray color, but I want it to be a pretty bright gray color, so as much gray as possible. I don't care about any shading on it. I'm going to set it for shadeless. Now I see I need a little bit darker, closer to what the default material is, but I got a background that's set to white, so it'll stand off. Could be darker again, maybe, so it'll stand off good. But I also know that I want some that's sort of colored the same color as the map. So I'll take a guess that I'll put parking lots this color. Now, how can I make this quickly into some other kind of thing? I don't need to use mist. Traceable is good. How can I make this quickly into another similar texture but with slightly different color? If I hit the add a new material button, makes a duplicate of what you're currently working on and just changes the number up by 1. But now if I was to make this one more gray or even sand or dirt colored, that would be like a brown that's fairly dark. I also have been thinking about I need to make some green space, right? But I might want I want 2 different tones for parking lots. One which is key parking lots and one which isn't. Like this one's going to be different than these. this more concrete, really, than anything. I want something which is indicative or evocative. That's probably as close as I can get. Either way, there's more than one material here, and I can now select between parking lot materials to get one or the other, and I can assign them quickly throughout the place we're working on. So this is the one I had selected up here. I don't know why I can't select anything. In object mode, yep. Ah, there we go. Parking lot 1. Go back here, we can see it now. This will be parking lot 1, 2. Set it back to here. The outer area here, I'm going to set to parking lot 1 or 0. The inner area to 2 or 1. Two of these areas I could set to 1 or like 0, and this other one to 1 for the ground. Set this for a building, right? So this one has to go to, let's say parking lot 0 first, but then I'm going to add another texture slot. We're going to want 2 for it. Right now, all of them would be set blue, with a difference in the inside ones. But what I want it to do is, for this outside area, to be set to that one, so I assign it. And they're down there. I think this normal or face is flipped incorrectly. I'm not sure. That one and that one, they're already set correctly. I wonder. That's a double-sided X. Delete faces. Control Z. Only faces. I want the edge remainder. I want what's left. I'll take it in perspective for a second. No, I don't need that. I'm going to go back to vertex select. Ah. Because it's on the inside of that one. I get it. There's a building there. Gonna do a little cleanup on this one. This vertice, this vertex, you can go. This one shall join to that one. Solving my issue. Except here is going to be a pain. If I go back to orthographic now, I can kind of see it again. Also, I've got the background image kind of blocking my view here now. The way around that to not take it out altogether is to just make it more opaque so that when I got it selected, when I got something selected, so it shows up a little bit better. Or I quickly flip it on or off. See around it for the moment. Another thing that I can do to make things simpler is I can actually hide these from view. Got the water street selected. These are the bevels, but the street's up here, I think. I can hide that from view entirely by clicking on the little eye icon. Still there, nothing moved, just not visible for a few minutes. And if I don't want to select them inadvertently, even though they're still there, and get those out of the way. This thing, I like that color. Well, the call.
I want to thank you for coming in. I want to thank you for talking to us, being so open with us, and talking about all those different things. It's interesting, very interesting. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Nick.
Right, okay, so I'm just going to chuck in a little exercise right at the end of the podcast here. And it's an exercise that I'm working out at the moment that's cribbed from about 1 million different self-help groups. I'm going to quickly explain the principle to you, and I'm going to get you to try and do it, and hopefully it will be really useful and a valuable exercise in every sense of the word. But
okay,
I don't want
Nick.
you to do it casually. I need you to go and get a piece of paper and genuinely do all of the things that I'm going to tell you to do. And then I really require your feedback on this as well. Do you think this does?
That's enough of you, Nick. That's enough of that. I might get back to that a little bit later. I got it legit on pause here, but 29. Okay. You know, even if I was open-minded, I forget it. That's the funny thing. They're still easily trolled. Whatever else you can say about them. I don't actually have to put a face in here. This doesn't have to have a surface that's colored at all. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll work around it and any issues I might be having here. I'm going to go to circle select so that I can get all of these nice and easy. Where are they? There. Oh. Circle select with C. If I hit F, I get the face in the center, which I want. I want that to be parking lot too, so I'll assign it. But check that out. Could make that green space too. Doesn't much matter because the map's going to probably be in. And these aren't final colors, but they are at least channeled. So if I change this color in this building, all of the similar colored pieces will change at the same moment. So I've been trying to spread it around a little bit, place the different colors places. Right? Yeah. This one needs to be on top of. This one underneath. That's parking lot 0. That's parking lot 1. Oh, right. I'm like, why can't I see it? And how come it's on top like that? Any guesses? If I go in perspective, maybe it'll be a little more obvious. No surface. I need to fill this. But I don't want this to be filled. So the thing to do is to select them all, hit F, fills the one in the middle, X, only faces. Might have to do it twice because there's one on either side. This one is still covering it. It doesn't exclude it, right? Ooh. Easy. I'll get rid of this edge. X only edge, just the edge. Kills the rest, right? F to join that one. F. So now I have to at least pick 4 each time. Or I have to look for a solution which includes 4 vertices. Like that. 3 is the other solution. You can use 3 if you can, or want to. If I use 4 here, it's going to want to be over here. It's a bit of a strange shape, so I'll throw in 1 extra triangle there. and get the next one. I want to see top down. I want to see this too. We're in perspective mode. I'll go back to that and turn off the background image entirely for a second. Let's get going. That's the 4. We'll go there. If I can get up to level with here, the rest will do itself. There's usually a way to get an edge loop selected. I can't remember if it's going to work too well here. Here we go. It's all the way around. And that's the solution. This is how computer graphics work is done, trying to minimize the amount of triangles or keep it to quads. Solutions like this where they're in line, the software divides it up as I've just done arbitrarily in here, but it keeps it whatever way it wants, giving us our surface. Now there's this one. I've got 2 overlaid here. Let's grab his for a second. So I've got an actual block piece here. And it's here. I'm going to keep this one above the other one. Not above, but that one's at 0.1. Whatever part this one is on is going to be 0.2 or 0.3, 0.03. So this one's clearly above the other one. For whatever reason, I think there must be, yeah, there's a building in here. I missed one. Turn the background image on again. And I see, yeah, there's a green space. One of those is green space, and then the rest is like the brick ground. I haven't actually colored those in yet or put a face on them. So I need to do something for green space. And that pretty much nails down anything I think the map needs to have. Then I've also got the freedom to put in other green space areas. If I had to do a map for a later point or another video, entirely another period in time. Oh, I hope you've been enjoying the Cult of Nick tonight. Figured throw out something a little bit interesting. I'm going to stick on some music while I take a break. Will not be long. Got to stretch the legs. Question: do you do a banjo track first, or do you do a guitar track first?
It's banjo.
Just to find it hard.
Whatever you do, you don't fuck it up. Try not to laugh.
Once again with the tide, she slips her line.
lines, turns her head, then comes awake. Where she lays so still there in privateer's wharf, now she quickly gathers weight. She will range far south of the harbor mouth and rejoice in every way. You will know the blue nose in the sun. See a bow rise free from mother's sea, and in a seaburst cloud of spray that stings the cheek while the rigging will
Check, check. 1, 2, 3. I was starting to come over all cotton-mouthed and zombie-eyed. And needed to get on the go, man. I call this Long Fern in the file name.
It's called Puff Puff Pass Fernando. Many years it's been since I saw a reefer in your hand. Did you find the bomb, Fernando?
It's satire, and I'm sticking to it.
That dandy little glass one you got outside of Disneyland. I can see it in your eyes. You wanna try to steal across.
I've changed the lyrics to this too several times.
No, Tommy Chong made it, man.
Yeah.
He's not here. It was years ago, Fernando, when we met in Tijuana at a swank resort hotel. Maybe it was Acapulco. You worked the bar, Fernando. You were really well connected to the Zetas, I heard tell. And it was tattooed up and down your arms, that wide variety of chemicals you sell. It was something in the E, I think, but not the drink, Fernando. Drinking mezcal from the bottle straight, the word can wait, Fernando. Though we never thought we would run out of grass. Got a dealer who delivers, man. Guy's got a van, Fernando. Got a dealer who delivers fast, as in the past, Fernando.
All guitar in this one. Long time since I've done just a guitar thing. Then I went and got a 6-string banjo. I was like, okay, that's enough of that. Give me a banjo. Give me the banjo, man. Give me the banjo. Still with us, King B? If so, glad to have you. Gonna be trying to get through this now in record time, or what passes for it. I got that one done already over here, right? This inside one. Yeah. Better off staying in Z mode. Z, I can change between the object mode, which is... Okay, well now, that's what is currently in object mode. The display mode. Shaded objects, or solid, or wireframe. Wireframe's useful for laying things out, but then solid becomes the actual requirement. I need another type of set of materials. This one's very much like parking lot though. So I'll start with parking lot 1, which currently has 3 users. Hit that button. Becomes parking lot 2. I'm going to call this mall. And OOO is good. This will be anything that's related to the inside of the mall. I might start putting another set for the other side of the mall to match. Simply for the map. Then all these other areas which are paved or parking lot, I'll color in. Most of the roads I don't have to actually make a highlight for. I laid down one for water, and I laid down one up here for market. And then I laid down one for 9th. Just the 2 that I hid there. That's only to have a curved surface to do it though. Still 12-second delay, yeah. I haven't looked at any... I haven't looked at the video link yet, no. When I was eating supper, it was the only chance I had to do anything like that. I still have the file open in front of me, though. Let me have a peek right now. I got nothing better to do. Time to kill. Time for a surprise. Have I already seen it? Oh! Thank you. Allow me. Stripe down the front of her, eh? So yeah, the reason we can't see through the front of her is because of what happened to the camera. The camera's on the hood or something. It got bent up so we can't see. It looks like it's going up in the air, but we're not. Ah, here's the one. So that's just the angle of the camera. That one? Yeah. He ain't doing 30. Maybe he is, actually. Yes, he is. What am I saying? Because he pulled out the pass. I'm trying to figure out how can I get the speed off of this. Ah. There's the fisheye in the front and the fisheye in the back, probably. No, not so much. Maybe, because there's a curve on the line. Yeah. He's accelerating up too, so I don't know how fast he's going. That's that last update. It actually got higher than that. You see it? That was updating. He was accelerating maybe up to 30. He had another half second, he might have made it to 50. But, agree? It looks like he's getting his momentary speed on the cam there. That's coming from a fucking GPS, right? That's a GPS downlink, which is why there's a lag between the time of the speed he's actually doing to the... Because when he's last tracked, that's the speed he's last tracked at, getting reported back. So, watch. Shift, 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 right? $27 at last update. He was getting upwards of 30, 35 there. You can hear what gear he's in too. Oh, that's okay. I was looking at the video there. What I'm thinking is I was watching the dash cam, the front camera, right? It gets an uplink from the GPS, so it tells you how fast he's going too. He gets upwards of 30 at the moment of the impact or thereabouts. He's passing 30 when he gets the last uplink, and it's after the moment that he hits it. So that's pretty cool. I was like, oh, show me how I can figure this out from like just looking at the image. I don't want to see anything else. Hey, Manfred. In the middle of doing some map here. It won't be much longer though. Just added a mall texture. Just took over a whole bunch of this. Now I need to add in a building and a green space, and then let's see. And then there's like brick area. Although I don't think there's much. Well, there's mostly brick area in this one. A lot of this is brick. Must keep reloading for me playing through there. That's nuts. Doesn't say anything about it here. So mall, and then there's going to be a mall 2. And maybe a mall 3. But I'll do the colors separately. I want a brick color. I'll do this one as green. Now if I go back down to the brick one and hit it again, I'll do just a generic dark, or maybe some kind of light gray roof. Oh, wait, I'm here trying to select faces. What the heck? This one. Oh, wait, now. I get this right. Let's start with green first. It's limited my technical confidence. There are other softwares than Paint. GIMP's pretty cool. GIMP can even do animated GIF, I think. But a large animated GIF with big images is going to be pretty big. That's why I'm a fan of video work. That's why I'm a fan of doing things in video style, Manfred. So if there's image data that you want to show in sequence, you can flip between it or whatever, or do a series of stills that overlays a bunch of little things which are common. So I want mall 2 in here too. The dog's going crazy out back again tonight. Yeah. So this one I know I want to assign that brick color. And this one I think, yeah, includes everything out to here and some green spaces. So I'm going to assign that one to the mall green space first. Now start trying to get some of these. I might have to delete. I might have to go into full-on editing blitz to get this one right. Issue being now I've got this. Well, you can see there's a whole bunch in the middle here, which wants to be its own thing. But I've got to try to avoid wrapping around any. I can't surround any polygon on 3 sides without causing a face to go over all of it. So when I go into this mode, I can't easily select a face like out here. I don't know where its point is, right there, without getting it shading over these two because of the edge loop. Which means I gotta spend some time making these areas to a default gray or brick color. Might want to change this brick color on the other one out here too. Which I just did, since I know this is probably going to be a gray or brick. Or I might have to add another texture. So the way to get that back here is to break this edge loop and kill the face, so to speak. So when I go into edit mode, I go back down into vertex. I could actually go into edge select too and get a single little edge segment. That one to do, that one to do. X, edges, bye-bye face. These two remain. So if I select these two edges and hit F, oh, I get a face over there. It's not what I want. Control Z. I'd much rather be in vertex select mode. F, and it just connects the line which I had disconnected. Now I have to try to convince this to form a face without going crazy around the rest. Now I think I can do it. I think I can. C for circle select. If I use the scale while in circle select, it'll make the circle bigger or smaller. So I'll scale in a little bit first. Hit circle select. I gotta come back and get one of those. A couple of them. I got to take off circle select in order to do this, and because I'm zoomed in, you'll see how the road is coming over. That's pretty neat, hey? Yeah, elevated road. Oh yeah, this all runs it straight back, so I'm going to have to fill in this piece and a whole bunch of others. I'm trying to drag it with my mouse and holding shift and middle mouse button like this. So I can zoom out to really make the most of that. I'm in perspective to get the clearest view of the wireframe. That gets my edge. Let's try to with an F, and it fills it for me automatically. So now I've got this interior face area in here and in here. And look, it wanted to actually fill this way. So if I want to fix that, I'm probably going to have to delete this one or put this one over here somehow. That's a fairly common and easy to do editing task in this type of software. What happens when I've got one vertex too many? What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the grid as a guide. This won't be perfectly representing on the map, but for now it'll do. I'll put that right on a grid point. I'll take that one. Well, first I'll snap my cursor to selected. The cursor comes here. Now I select that one. Snap selected to cursor. Now there's two of these vertices in the same point. Serves to bring out this face. That works for me alright, or this closed loop. I can make into a face, and one over here and one over here. And one over here. And there's already a couple over here. So the last thing that I need to do is box select both of them. So now I got both of the vertices that are there. And on my toolbar over on the other side, I hit T to get that pop up. One of the things I can do is to get rid of duplicates. I can duplicate, but I can also remove or merge selected vertices. At first, at last, at center, at cursor. Doesn't matter which, at cursor would do. Now they're one. Where it was two is now one. And what I've put together may no man put us under. ACM art design and then tribute to Glenn Campbell. Interesting. I can get some memory back here. Daughter's playing banjo in the band. Wow. Yes, because it was only the last year or so that he died, wasn't it? Wasn't that long ago? C, circle select. F, I've got that one filled. I'll do circle again this time. Circle assumes that you want to join, like make a larger selection area by default, but you could also do that by holding shift and just kind of clicking one at a time. Takes longer. Orthographic mode I can get around much easier. I have to turn off the background image and turn it back on again after. F for that one. Thusly, there is a chance though when you're doing this that you'll click and drag with right mouse, which will pick it up. Not what you want. And then you lose your selection. F. That one, do it the circle again. Those two should be one. Oh, we'll give it a try. That looked like it worked okay. So now there's no obvious definition here again, unless I start coloring in these faces with the appropriate material. So there's the map indicates that this is green space, for example. Sorry. On this side and this side. Wherever that one is, there and there, that's green space, whereas this isn't. So I need to have a few more texture channels for it. There's another one. There's another one, and I'm going to make one more. And I'm going to make that one gray. And I'm going to add in the one that I just blew out inadvertently, number 2. So the one I have selected here is currently set for this, but I want it to be the gray color, so I assign it, and then it's the gray color. This one, that one, I think that one. I'm going to go with this color. So it's like going to stand in for bricks or interior paving to the mall, whereas there'll be a gray color for sidewalks and stuff on the outside. Turn on the background image again for a second. Unselect everything. So there's a few little things I'm going to need to change here, or I want to change. One thing is this road. The controller for the thickness, the width of the road is up here. I have an object assigned to be the road's width. And I currently have it set a little thin. It's on the X. I'm going to put that back up to 0.3. If I hid the whiteboard in the back, maybe that'll make a little more sense. What we've got covered up essentially and what we haven't. Whiteboard was making the gaps and things show up a lot. But now, of course, all I have to do is to move a few lines here or there, or add in a generic gray background color between the white background, or turn that gray. Like this one could be the generic gray color. Searsman did a piece of Glenn who showed a clip where his kids were backing him up. Yeah. Go on. Imagine too, they might have had sunk their money. Goodness only knows what their financial straits were in. But the same thing happened to you know who Leonard Cohen is? Leonard Cohen was playing right till the day that he died, pretty much. Not that he was slipping that much, but he had lost so much from what he was owed in royalties or in whatever. Funny to think too, family acts were the thing back in the day. The Carter family, to this family, to that family. Partridge family. The 60s had to have a smack at it. Adams family. Having a peek at the chat from time to time, eh? What you're seeing on the screen is not what I see. I've got the blender window and the... I should explain that. I've got the blender window and the browser overlaid on one another. But I don't see this much. I don't have to worry about anything else. Ah, VLC. Tempting. Z. This seems like really dark. Yeah, you see text and stuff overlaid on it normally, right? I don't have none of that overlay. I don't have none of this stuff up here at the top. Flaming, no. That's not on I can look at it and see that it's there. But if I look at that one, I'm looking at myself. So then like, I'd much rather have the window underneath. Like the browser, I mean. So. It's another one of those parking areas then. Or no, that's subdivision. Z. That one, that one, that one. All three of these need to be set to parking lot. It's down here. I can now search for exactly what I want too, right? I don't have to necessarily be specific. If I enter in half of the name, and I'm pick the name in the first place with an eye towards knowing exactly how to get it later. 2 or 3 letters should be enough, right? Ooh, I don't want that one. That one. So this one here, if I look at this again, I've got that one, that one, that one. There is no surface in the middle here yet. And it's a parking lot area. So first thing is, because it's part of this mesh, best way to put it, because it's part of this mesh, this plane object with a bunch of vertices, I'll have to add another channel for it. It doesn't care that they're not all named the same. I can, because I need that material, individual material in this material block. It's quite happy to put it there. When I go into edit mode, now I have to first make the face like I've been doing in some of those other places. Once the interior loop has been defined, just grab them and see. Right clicking will drop whatever you're doing and put it back exactly where it was. If I hit F now, it fills it in. If I assign, it should turn it blue. So now we're starting to see where the parking lot areas are. These look like they're flipped. They really do. Make sure that one's above. I'm saying flip because I think their shading is incorrect, and that's underneath. Let me see here. So relations? No, it's not under animation. It's under physics. It must be here under tools. I mean to say they should be the same color as this one. And ideally, I was thinking this one doesn't have to be the blue color. It could be the other color. You're right, because that is an actual building up there, isn't it? Or is that just a lot? I don't know. If I'm in here, I think I can flip edges or flip faces. Let me see. Haha, let's try this one. I'll get all so that I've got this face selected. Weight tools, history, mesh tools, inset faces, make faces, edges and stuff. That's the F key that we've been using. Oh, that's the create menu. Shading, normals, flip direction. And now it's a lot brighter. It's got to be in edit mode. You got to flip direction on this one too. And now I'll put it down so that it's definitely under these. Up. Put them down one. I would think these look like they're flipped too, hey? And that one. Don't need this side now. Flip direction. That one looks good. That's a parking lot. Let's see. Maybe I want to swap that one out for the other material. In which case, if that's the other material and I select it, I think that still needs to be flipped. Because it needs to be the same color as this, right? And it looks like this one, if I hit A to get all of them, flip direction, that's there too. Hit A to get all, flip direction. Now this is a much better case in point. I'll go to face select now to start getting these individual faces. We can do this individually. If it looks like there's anything that's a little too dark. Chances are that when I was drawing them, it calculated that I wanted the surface to be pointing in the wrong direction based on the view that I was using. Got it right once and messed it up the second time. Might have been where I was using a lot of subdivide. That one definitely looks like it needs flipping. Some of them might be alright upside down, I don't know. Maybe it's a little too abstract. I think it's a little more visually interesting though to know that there's a different building, different front. So if we're seeing changes in the video, you can kind of anticipate it. And then zooming down onto water here. That's the parking garage. Can you read it? There's the road to get into it. There's the pedestrian access out. That needs to be a little bit extra, probably work in here, but we can easily add another little road piece to link like the background in. Ooh. This one. I think that one probably, and that one too. If I go in here now, oh, well, I can see from overview. Of course that one is. That one too, though. I thought you were doing so good. And then this one. I'll flip one, not the other. It's City Hall there. I think I should probably leave that one inverted. Accurate representation of, you know, the mindset of the bureaucrat. So really, I've got the interior area of the mall, the most detailed of all. This is the, ooh, look at that. This is the area of interest. This is where I had the star marked on the map. That's really the, what I consider the epicenter. But it's somewhere back from there. And here's the really good news. The map I'm using has a well-known distance, which is this corner to this corner is 75 meters. Blender's really cool with units and stuff. I can scale this to a known Blender measurement, then tell it to use meters instead of Blender units, and then it becomes meters. So anything that happens on the map or in relation to the map can be tracked accurately as well as, right? So now what I need to do is start thinking about filling in whatever happens to be, if not parking space, basically like this. Any kind of gray area for parking lot or road. And I probably need to do something like this over on this side for the opposite end of the mall. But before I do, the little parking areas or the little brick areas. Perhaps you see why I had two different parking lot colors. Because even here I could use one, right? Oh, right, down here. Need to fill that one in. Wow. This is going to be ugly. I'm going to fill that one in. Again, the building already has a bunch of faces colored with these. So I need to add two more. Might as well just add them now. Both parking lots. Some regard, I guess this would be like having a model train set. Best way of putting it. I'll put parking lot on the top piece here. I'll assign it to this face. But this other one, that's going to be that color. And then on the front of this building, back to vertex mode. Ooh, that might not work too well. I might have to put in my own set of faces to get this one to work. Let's try it. There's 4. That's 4. That's 4. Total, how many triangles in all of that? Quick. Think about it. Weird number of triangles. Could be a bunch of different ones, right? Could be divided always from opposite corner to opposite corner, in which case there's one there or one there. So 2 in each. Now I'll go into face select mode. Get all 3. It's already been set to this one. I'm going to change that material index. Parking lot 1 instead. Wow. So what's this one? Also set to parking lot 1. No. Let's see. Those are assigned. This one I'm going to have to assign to another one. Maybe that color. So it stands out. Over here, this one. Flip the direction. I don't need to see these Bezier objects. These are the roads. Okay, so I didn't fill these in. What does the map say? Map says consider it like the same as the other ones. Okay. If I go back to fill in the face, get all those, fill that one, fill the line, fill the face. Fill the face and the heart will follow. I need to add a new one here. Again, I can go down here. PA gets me the 2 ones that really would be. I assign to that one. Turn it over. It's practically the same color as this other one. Over here. Building 0. I might want to change Building 0's color profile, or might want to do something to make it one way or the other have a different kind of contrast or be less similar than the tone of the color. It needs to be different, maybe. Like that. And with this parking lot color, I'm kind of thinking towards what I might want to put on the road. And there's this blue area all the way around this part. So if the road color happens to be like this color, it won't be too hard to understand. We're looking at the vertical parking lot where there's a whole bunch of layers just like this. Yeah, and colored the same color as the road, more or less. I was showing today earlier, King B, I don't know if you caught it or not. We're in orthographic here now, but the whole idea, well, I need to be in this window to show you. The whole idea is there's a camera which I can select or I can use to render from. When the camera is active, this is what the camera sees. The camera is controllable in terms of zoom this way, so I can have it scrolling to follow as a mini map. If I have it set up over any particular tracker, I'll put that at 35 where it was. Well, it seems to be a bit much. That's good. And then if I want to move the location of the camera, I physically move it in XY space here. Scroll it up or down. And in orthographic, there is no perspective. It's like a top-down map in a GPS unit. So really I know that I want it like -3 there and probably -3 again. I chose -5, so I'm a little bit offset from the center of the intersection there, but if this was in perspective mode, if I had the camera set up for perspective, then the scaling doesn't matter and the focal length becomes an issue. So you can accomplish zooms the same way, but it will get that long lens effect that the guy got from the shot when Marcus is midair. You can simulate that to some degree here in Blender. But now when I move the camera, well, I got to select the camera first. When I move the camera now, things at ground level, if they had height, you'll see the difference in height. So you kind of get the top-down Google Maps view this way. If I use the areas which I've colored differently to indicate height of the ceiling for any given building. Like all three of these are the same height, I think. And therefore these two. And maybe, you know, there's a parking lot down here, but then there's a building on the back. Could be a different height. I can't remember if I haven't looked at it that much, but I do know, right? Orthographic, though, is probably more useful for the purposes of this. So the next thing to do, I could say, is the road surfaces. That's pretty much it. I think I should probably switch over my stream too to say it's another day. We're at half-hour mark past the hour of the 12-hour, so it's Tuesday. Nick was saying, see you next Tuesday. Hell, it's Tuesday, Nick. It's Tuesday. I know. Deal with it. Tuesday. How long have I been streaming anyway? Yeah, I'm going to shut down and start streaming again in probably about half an hour. I also have to do one other task offline. Like I have to change some things over from one hard drive to another. So when that's done, I'll be back. This is pretty much done though.